Jermaine Genius's comments at half-time on Sunday during the Wolves game, where he said you haven't been given enough credit for changing the style, bringing through the youngsters, but also matching or doing slightly better than your predecessor. Do you feel that's perhaps you haven't had that credit?
I don't know, and I think the people that know, the people that we work with, I'm thinking Tony and the board and Dan and the people that are with us every day, I think we know. I think in football you can always improve. I don't like comparisons. I can just be me. I can just try my best. I respect the job that's been done before. I've always said there's no right or wrong way to do anything. We're not better than or worse than anybody else, but we've tried to implement a style that can take us forward, that can develop the team, that can develop the club. We've used academy players, we've used young players. I think the players that have played have developed. You're looking at the likes of Rob Sanchez, Lewis Dunk, Yves Bissouma, just to name three that have taken big steps. And but it's difficult when you're fighting for points, when you're fighting for results, to talk about playing styles or talk about development too much, because no one wants to really hear about that, because you need to win, you need to get the points, you need to get over the line. And but slowly and surely we've kept going, we've kept working, and I'm proud of what the team's done in terms of how it's played. Like I said, we're disappointed because the points tally doesn't match where we think what we've done. We have to deal with that and look to improve.
With the young players, you mentioned Rob Sanchez, bringing him through there. How do you arrive at that decision to say, I'm going to take the guy out who's done pretty well for the club over 3 seasons in goal, and throw pretty much an untried youngster into the Premier League? Yeah,
I mean, it was it's a tough process, because like you say, you've got someone that we respect a lot, and has been a fantastic servant for the club, that you've got to make a change with. But it's based on Rob's qualities and also the job really here is if you think there's a player that has the potential to play in pretty much any football club in the world, has that potential, then you've got to try and give them a pathway to play and to
Did you know you were going to have to make that decision? So was that something early on at the football club, when you'd seen Rob early on, that at some point this guy's going to be my number one?
Well, we saw the quality, and absolutely it's exciting, but as we know, potential is one thing. It's about how you can make it a performance, how you can make it stable in terms of what he's given every week. I think that's the challenge. But Rob, when you look at him in terms of his attributes, in terms of what he can do, it's for me, it was quite clear and obvious that he has everything that you need to play at any level. So when you've got somebody of that quality, of that potential, then it's worth trying to use it, because that's ultimately how we can grow as a club. Sometimes you have to make some tough decisions, some big decisions. That's how it is. You don't always get them right, and then when you don't, you're getting told that you've made it wrong. But at the same time, as I've said before, my job is to do what I think is the right thing for this club, and I'll do that to the best of my ability.
Well, you brought through the younger players. Obviously, Stephen Alzati broke through in your first season, Aaron Connolly. Is it almost you have to do it as a gradual process? You can't throw them all in at once. And on the back of that, how close did you come to keeping Ben White here for that season where he went to Leeds? I heard you speak about that in your press conference last week.
Yeah, I think you have to take each player on their merit. They're all individuals. Everything's different. Somebody like Tariq, for example. He's a young player. He's not from our academy, but he's still a young player that has made a huge impact, and then has unfortunately got injured. So you have to consider every player on their own. But Ben was another one where we knew about him before we arrived. Really liked him. Would have tried to sign him. So we were big fans, but he was on a journey, I guess, in terms of gaining first in football and wanting to play, which we respected and liked. Actually, the opportunity to him came to go on loan, and it was a really good opportunity that we weren't in a place to say no, I think you should stay here. Our belief in him and our understanding of his quality never changed. So we're now delighted that he's back with us. We're delighted with the season he's had, and again he's taken steps. First season in the Premier League, a young player, but has got a big future, and we're excited.
And when you make those decisions, how much input do you draw on from around you? Would you discuss it with Dan Ashworth, say, or with Rob? Would Ben Roberts have an input to that? Billy, Bjorn, even the chairman? Is that something you would discuss that, or is it your decision ultimately?
Well, somebody has to make the decision, and that's my responsibility. But I think I'd be a fool to not use the expertise and the opinion of everybody around me, because we've got a fantastic club and lots of good people, and I'm fortunate that I've got some amazing staff. So yeah, every decision I make is with a consultation of the key people around me. So I don't sit in the dark room with my ego and make some call on my own. It's I have to take the opinion of everyone, and Tony's been a fantastic source of support for that, because he's a chairman that gives me a platform and gives me room to do my job. But at the same time, he's always there to help and support and to give advice. So I'm really appreciative of that.
When you first came in, I remember you speaking about the group a lot. It feels like everybody is on the same trajectory, on the same wavelength, on the same page, however you want to do it. That's something you're big on. How have you achieved that?
It's something that is important to us, I think, because we have to essentially make. I've said before, 95% of all the leagues are determined by finance. So if you're not going to outspend, or you're not going to do that, then you have to be creative with how you're using your money. You've got to make it work better than everybody else, and I think how you do that is you have an idea, you align everything towards that idea, and then hopefully as a result of that process you can gain results that are bigger than what you think you can get, because there's a 5% that clearly beat the system, and we want to be that 5%. But you don't do it by doing what everybody else does. You don't do it by copying. You have to create your own thing. And then you have to fight for that and be proud of that. It's not a straightforward process. It's not an easy road, because we're competing in the highest level, and by definition football results can knock you off course and can lose. You can lose your way, but thankfully we've managed to stay strong. We've managed to keep together. The players have been so open-minded, so responsive, so responsible, and they've just worked, and they've kept a level head throughout the season, and stuck with it. And yeah, whilst we're happy that we've achieved our status in terms of the Premier League, we're also frustrated that we haven't got the points that we think we should have got, and that's for us to improve, that's for us to look at, but performance-wise there's a lot to be excited about. And
just coming back to that point in terms of everything sort of being aligned and people in tune with one another, when you took the job, was that something you looked at the club to did that club need to be the right club for you to give you that platform to do that?
The big factor for me was the stability in terms of what Tony provides, and then Paul and Dan. So from a leadership perspective, a stability, because the emotion of the Premier League, the emotion of football, it can go up and down, as we know. Results can, but they're very, very objective with how they think. That gives you a chance to work, I think, as a coach. That's what you need, because you take over a team that got 36 points in the Premier League, so it's not like you're taking a team that's 55 points. You're taking a team with 36 points. You need to try and improve. We need to try and change things around. Again, not better or worse than anybody else, but you have to try and implement your own style that you think can help the club develop, that can use young players, that can develop players from the academy, that can give you an opportunity in the market to make your pounds work more than anybody else, and that's the challenge ultimately, when everything's going on off the pitch, from personal stuff to a global pandemic to no fans to all the things that are happening around, and to compete in the Premier League it's I've used the word brutal, but that's how it is. And I must admit the support I've had, the support from the club, the support from our supporters has been amazing during that process, and I'm really thankful for that.
you talked about emotion there, Graham, but you just seem to be on this level, like zen almost about you.
I would say externally. Internally is a different different picture, because I can understand there with the emotion that everybody feels. I feel it the same internally, but over the 15 years that I've been doing this job, you understand that part of my job is to manage my emotions, to make them effective enough to help the team. That's part of the job, and you don't get it right all the time. It's my personality. I made some choices as a coach. I didn't want to be the person that was blaming the referees for when things went wrong, because I think that's, when you go down that route, it takes responsibility from what we can control, and I always want to focus on that. I can't worry about what referees do, because I can't control what they do. It's part of the game. It's part of why we love the game. That they'll make mistakes and they'll get things wrong, and we'll talk about them. But my job is to continually keep things moving in terms of, okay, how can we improve? What can we do to be better? How can we take responsibility for our performance, for our the results we're getting? And that's I think whilst you can talk about that, you have to act that as well. And that's why I think it's important for me to be how I am. I don't want to be anybody else. I'm not disrespecting anybody else, but I want to be me. And whilst I'm not perfect, I'll try my best to keep improving.